We're back, people. What is up? Another stream. Day 3 of the Miami Dolphins training camp that we're going over today. Some interesting interviews. We got to see some of the rookies talk for the first time. And just other things that happened. What's up, Nicholas? What's up, Trollway? I can answer your first question first. We can start with the Christian Wilkins thing, actually, yeah. So Christian Wilkins, I don't know if you guys saw, you probably saw, yesterday he got released by the Raiders. Very surprising. And it seems like there's some drama behind it, like with them and like the guaranteed money. They voided it because they said it's something he didn't like take his rehab serious enough or something of that nature. My opinion is I probably would not sign him for a few reasons. Is yes, like Trollway said, the injury is very concerning. It seems like he's not going to be ready to start this year. I read somewhere earlier that he's looking like he's going to definitely miss the start of the season. So then for me, it's like if he did come back healthy, it would just depend on the price point. And I don't think the Dolphins have the money to pay Wilkins. And I don't think he's a necessity either, like a guy that we're like, oh, we desperately need. But like, I mean, I love Wilkins. Shout out Wilkins. I hope everything works out for him. But I would say I think it's very unlikely. And I just like, unless it was like a great scenario, I would say probably not for me. But yeah, definitely was a surprising one yesterday. And then we got there's some clips that were posted yesterday, like this one. This is the Cater Kohu pass breakup from Tyreek. You know, nothing too crazy to watch here. You know, just always nice to see some clips. I'm sure we'll see. I think tomorrow is the one that's open to fans, so I'm sure we'll see more clips. And then Kohu ended up actually being the one that wore the orange jersey today. That clip was from yesterday. Another thing that happened yesterday was the Dolphins signed Cornell Armstrong, which I thought was pretty funny. I don't know if you guys remember Cornell Armstrong, but the Dolphins actually drafted him out of Southern Miss like back in the day. Seems like the Dolphins are just bringing back old DBs, but he's a camp body. He's like replacing Artie Burns. And then here's another throw. I remember we got this one described yesterday, the layered throw to Waddle near the sideline. Seemed like Tua and Waddle, you know, McDaniel getting happy. Tua and Waddle connecting early and often throughout camp. Pretty normal stuff. And I think that sort of continued today from what I had read so far. What's up, guys? What's up, Mario? What's up, Irving? How you guys doing? But yeah, always nice to see the clips. I feel like we haven't seen a ton of clips yet this year. And then the media met with Mike McDaniel before practice. He talked a little bit about Brewer. Apparently, Brewer has a lower body soft tissue issue, but McDaniel said he expects to see him sooner rather than later. And a reason he wasn't put on PUP is also because the Dolphins didn't put him on PUP because he wanted to work on snaps on the side. So that's why he's sort of stuck around. And then the post-practice sprints that we kind of talked about, it's apparently, you know, players kind of emphasizing that. That's what McDaniel was saying. He mentioned like things about Austin Jackson, knowing how important he is after we went down last year. Talked a little bit about Cam Smith. But he talked about the rookies. This is what I want to talk about. Like Jonas Savaiinaea, and Kenneth Grant both got talked about by McDaniel today and both got interviewed. So we'll get to hear from them for the first time, really. But he talked about Jonas saying, basically the big thing here is from this, you know, sometimes this is coach speak, but he said, you can tell that the vets believe in him. He's doing a great job because, you know, fired up because you have to earn that in a real way, that vet trust. And that feels real. And they talked about Kenneth Grant being like emotionally intelligent, clearly putting in the work. And that's one of the reasons they're very high on him. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if Wilkins did come back, like he wouldn't play like very early on. But it's nice to hear Grant Savaiinaea being praised by McDaniel. What else do we got here? He talked a little about leaders. He talked about Tua and Jordan Brooks as being leaders. And then he also talked about Willie Gay and Nick Westbrook-Akine, the newcomers. Then we get, let's see if the notes. Also, apparently our rivalry uniforms, they teased that. That will be officially shown on August 28th. And then here we got some notes from Travis Wingfield. So, you know, we take all of these with a, you know, slight grain of salt sometimes, but it is still nice to hear updates, you know, doing this for fun. So shout out Travis. He has some very in-depth notes. He said day 3 of Dolphins practice is over, but that was his favorite day of the 3. Tua was again sharp, hooking up with Waddle and Reek for a handful of chunk gains. The day started with a tight window throw put away from the hook backer in front of the trail corner to Waddle that could have been a long touchdown. Call it a 30-yard gain. Yeah, that seems sort of like the theme of camp for Tua is, hitting those throws again that we hit more in 2022 and 2023. I hope, this is just training camp, but I hope that it's a sign that that's what they're trying to go back towards. Not the 2024 offense where they were kind of forced to, underneath throw, screen. And I think it's pretty clear from what we're hearing in practice and also just the moves they made this offseason and also just common sense of like, hey, these are, professionals in the NFL, professional coaches. They know what they want to get back to. It's just they weren't able to commit to that last year. So I think that's like a big sign. Yeah. And then he said he thought the run continued to show signs that you wanted to see in a camp. Achane had a number of explosives. Really want to see the pads come on for the run game stuff. But he said there was some good stuff from Patrick Paul. Also, I want to mention this now because I'm talking about Patrick Paul. Jonah, we'll get to the rest of his interview later, but Jonah in his interview mentioned that him and Patrick Paul are building a chemistry because they're next to each other. And the media, I know, is not allowed to divulge where people are playing, but Jonah kind of gave it away that it seems like he's playing left guard with him talking about trying to build a chemistry with Paul. I think that's interesting. I'm not against it. I know we've talked about it back and forth, like which side people should be on. To me, it's just wherever people are comfortable. And I don't mind. I know people don't want to have the two young guys next to each other, but I don't mind them building up together early on in their careers. So I just thought that was an interesting nugget. He said some other linemen had a nice day were Keon Smith and Dan Brunskill. So nice to see Brunskill getting involved early after, being signed a couple days ago. He said Nick Westbrook-Akine had a big day. I feel like, we haven't heard too much about him. I know there was that one day during minicamp where he had a few touchdowns. But he had a nice tight window shot, 25 up the sideline from Tua. I expect pretty nice things from Westbrook-Akine. He's one of the guys I'm most excited about. I think he was easily one of my favorite free agent signings this year. Was relatively cheap. I think he can kind of replace some of the Jonnu stuff you're doing. He's also just a big wide receiver that can do blocking. He can do a lot of red zone stuff. He's willing to do the dirty work, reliable guy that kind of broke out last year that I will definitely be excited to see in this offense because I do believe he is a good scheme fit. He said, I thought Julian Hill moved people at will in the run game today. That's kind of the thing with Julian Hill. There's times where he definitely moves people. Like I've seen those reps, even his rookie season, even some reps last year where like he moved people in the run game. All about consistency with him. That if Julian Hill can play at a consistent level, that will help out the offense's run game so much. It's just hopefully can he actually get there. I kind of like that. I imagine Daniels and Jackson. Yeah, that is a big thing. It's like your left side would be Paul and Sav, which would be a very big but athletic left side. With Brewer in the middle. Brewer can help to both sides. And I kind of like the right side being Daniels and Jackson because they're more of like, hey, they can move people. Like they might not be like as big as the left side, but they are out there to try to move people. At least that's what they've shown. Well, the left side is a little more like they're kind of trying to build into that. So I kind of like both sides, like, being a mix of those skill sets. Do you expect Pharaoh Brown to see more snaps than Hill? No, but I don't think it will be that far off. I think I think they're going to see similar levels of snaps, kind of like what you saw last year from Smythe and Hill. And I think the Dolphins just really like Julian Hill. And, Pharaoh Brown's a 1-year vet that's mostly been, rotational, blocking tight end. Like, and kind of that's what Julian Hill is already for Miami, but they probably think of him more of an upside younger guy. And I'm sure, and they've trusted him very early on. So I don't think it will be like that far off. But that 2024 offensive style was because we couldn't run the ball effectively and get defenses out of the two high shells. Oh yeah, for sure. I've mentioned that a bunch of times. That's definitely a reason they're trying to go back to 2023 and 2022. They got to be able to run the ball first and foremost. That's probably like the biggest thing with the offense this offseason. We'll get to Ewers in a second because actually I have something to talk about because apparently I saw a couple people mention that I don't think it was Wingfield. I think it was someone else, but I'll find the post. But they mentioned Ewers. He had like one of probably his strongest day apparently today. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then to defense that Wingfield was talking about, he had Willie. He said Willie Gay might be his orange jersey player for tomorrow. He said he was effective as a rusher against the run and was a menace in coverage. Feels like Willie Gay's had a really strong camp. I know for me, it's like I expect all the linebackers to play. Like I don't really care whoever like Jordan Brooks is obviously started. The second starter, I don't think it really matters in a lot of games because I think all of them are going to see play. Like if Willie Gay is not the starter, he's still going to rotate in a lot and play because he's the better pass rusher and is more athletic than the other two. And then KJ Britt's more of the consistent run defender of those three guys, while Dotson has like the consistent plays in coverage. He said he dropped a pick 6 off of Zach Wilson as well. He said, speaking of Wilson, continue to see progress from him and Ewers. Ewers threw his best ball of camp for a conversion on 3rd and long to Eskridge in a tight window. So yeah, he did mention Ewers as well, but there's some other things I want to talk about. Zach Sealer was a force. Pretty common, obvious stuff. He said Tyrell Dotson and Jordan Brooks were awesome. Channing Tindall made some plays as well. He said Elijah Campbell was everywhere. He jumped around to Eskridge for a breakup. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Melifonwu out, if Elijah Campbell ends up winning a starting job or seeing playing time. I know Weaver always talked about him last year. He should have played last year. And Campbell, when he's had to play in his limited snaps, he's always actually been pretty solid. Like he's never been like a weak point out there, in my opinion. He said Jordan Phillips' strengths continue to stand out. And he said rookie John Saunders Jr. had an edge today, made a few plays. I saw someone else mention that apparently Trader wasn't spotted. So I want to, hear more news about that. He wasn't spotted at practice today. That's something I'm a little concerned about. I want to, Trader's one of my guys. But it is nice to hear that John Saunders, the UDFA, had some plays. I feel like I hadn't heard much about him yet. So always nice to hear UDFAs. It will be a tough battle for him to make the team, especially at the safety room, because the safety room just has a lot of bodies in front of him. But he is one of the UDFAs that I liked film-wise out of Ole Miss. He was definitely someone. Oh yeah, David Ferrona said it. He said Dolphins rookie QB Quinn Ewers, he tweeted this, had a strong third practice of training camp, made several impressive big-time throws. Nice to hear. I feel like this was definitely the most, we hadn't heard too much negative about Ewers, but we hadn't heard we've heard a mixed bag, definitely not bad, but definitely not great. So this was definitely, his best practice. So it's nice to hear mostly him improving, but just got to find these consistencies. That's sort of what you're looking at with Zach Wilson and Ewers, is that consistency. Do we know when Darren Waller will come off PUP? Is there any timeline? We don't know, but from what McDaniel was saying, it didn't sound like it was going to be very long. Any word on the practice squad tight end that converted from QB? I forgot his name. Are you talking about Conyers? Because I know Conyers had played some Wildcat QB. That's who you're talking about. He made some plays yesterday from what I saw. Yeah. Well, apparently McDaniel said the injury isn't super serious. You think the Dolphins are going to contact Wilkins? I'm sure they'll contact, but I don't expect Wilkins to sign that quickly because from what I've seen is that he won't be ready for the start of the season. So I think just once he's actually healthy, he'll sign somewhere. And I'm sure the Dolphins will contact, but I don't think they'll sign unless he wants to come play cheap. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it. A couple people, I think Alan Paper and I think the Miami Herald talked about Dante Trader missing from practice. So hopefully Trader's good. I hope it's nothing serious. Kader Kohu wore the orange practice jersey today. Anything else? But yeah, it seemed like Tua to Waddle definitely was a big part of the day. NWI, Storm Duck made some plays, forced an incompletion against Malik Washington. Yeah. And apparently a couple of the big throws from Ewers, he threw one to Theo Weiss Jr. So nice to hear Theo Weiss Jr.'s name. He was another one of the receivers the Dolphins brought in as an undrafted free agent that, they gave a nice little guaranteed deal to, and he's one that will be fighting for one of those end spots. More mention of John Saunders Jr. from a couple of people in the SI article. But yeah, that's some good stuff. He also apparently hit Eskridge deep as well. And then Jalen Phillips said Phillips got injured today. Or not Phillips. Sorry, forget what I just said. Phillips did not get injured today. He talked about his injury today. He got interviewed and talked about his injury. He said his rehab process with the ACL was seamless. He also said Chop Robinson is going to be one of the best players in the league very soon. I believe he will be a defensive player of the year candidate in the future. And honestly, sometimes with players and coaches, when they hype up another player, it can just be like talk, But honestly, this one, like, I actually believe Phillips believes that because, like, when I watched the film, I'm like, dude, Chop was showing some very high level play in that second half of last season. And, Phillips got to watch that, and I feel like they saw how much he improved and how much, like, his work ethic and, like, the effort he put into it. Like, man, I believe a lot in Chop. He's out of the young guys, like, I think he's your biggest building block. For sure. But yeah. And then, let me see what you guys are saying. I had a reason to give you a shout out yesterday saying a journalist he was tight with got corrected by Ryder in regards to Chop not able to play the run. Oh yeah, that was from a tweet that happened, and then Chop in his because I think Omar had said he can't play the run, and then I tweeted out like I like responded to it like with like a bunch of clips of him playing the run, and then Chop yesterday in his interview said like, hey, I know some people were saying I couldn't stop the run, but like there's clips out there. Shout out Chop. You can get this offense back to 2022 and 2023 all you want. You have to be able to pound the rock between the tackles. Well, that's kind of my point, Irving. Getting back to 2022 and 2023 is them pounding the rock. Because 2023 they led the league in yards per carry. They had a very effective run game, and I do believe yes they should open it up more and do more gap, inside zone type of stuff. But that's the key to the offense. I don't care what your concepts you're running, as long as you can run the ball effectively. That opens up the passing game. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate that W. Which of the UDFA's guys do you like? I'm not high on Armstrong. He's the hitch god. Don't see much other than his size. I like Armstrong. Yes, he did run a lot of hitches at Arkansas, but I think that was more so of a scheme thing than just his skill set. Like obviously he can run hitches, but I do think there's more to his skill set. I think he's a pretty good athlete, pretty good with the ball in his hands after the catch. But I do like a lot of the guys. I like Conyers, Armstrong, Theo Weiss. John Saunders Jr. is another guy I like. I don't know if he'll make the team just because of the room that he's in. I like Addison West. Who am I missing? Oh, the corners I think could fight for it as well. BJ Adams, Ethan Robinson can both win a spot with decent stuff. Ewers QB2. I still think he'll be QB3 for this season. I think the Dolphins paid Zach Wilson for a reason, even though like I wouldn't be surprised if Ewers was better for this system because Ewers has experience playing in the system. That was based the Texas and the Texas college offense, Dolphins offense, very, very similar. Let's see. But yeah. Seems like most of the other people were saying the same thing. So we can get to some of the interviews. Yeah, Cater wore the orange jersey. I mentioned that. Kenneth Grant got to talk to the media. He said him and Jonah have a competition building who can be the first and last. Love that. I feel like that's probably been one of my favorite things with the Dolphins' last two classes. Even if it wasn't like I loved the player film-wise, it seemed like with Chop, Patrick Paul, Grant, Jonah, your first and second round picks, and your later round picks as well. It seems like all of them are like high character, high work ethic guys, which is something I think goes underrated because sometimes you got to take a shot on talent, especially on like the later rounds. Like maybe if someone falls a little bit, that you're like, oh, I don't know if he's gonna have what it takes mental wise. But Dolphins have clearly put an emphasis on getting guys who are fit the athletic and physical profile that they want, but also are like very good workers. And the combo is like it's always there. That's why like I always don't unless someone falls a lot, I never understand taking the risk because there's always other good players there that are like just as talented, but also have the mental makeup you're looking for, which is what they brought in. Patrick Paul liability. I mean, I didn't love Patrick Paul to pick, but last year he showed that he wasn't a liability in my opinion. He has to clearly still improve, but I think liability is strong. Yeah. Oh, and Chop wasn't like great averse the run or anything. He just wasn't. They were talking about him like he literally couldn't play the run at all, and like I think they called him a liability as well versus run, which he wasn't. I thought he was like around average. Which if you're a very good pass rusher, an average run defender, like that's totally fine. You guys, I was watching some Chop tape at Penn State. Penn State, he's a bit of Von Miller. He's more camera rake than anything else. Yeah, I've seen some of the Von Miller comparisons. Like, I can understand maybe the get off stuff, but I think they win in different ways. Because Von is more of like the super bendy type. Well, Chop actually likes to win a lot with his speed to power. Yeah. First thing I see is Patrick Paul's liability. What happened? Nothing, Flum. I think he just said that because I mentioned the name. There was no like. I didn't see any mention of him actually at all today, which is usually a good thing for. Actually, no. Actually, Wingfield mentioned Paul was a big part of behind the run game today. Let me see. Wingfield, yeah. Wingfield's second note was, I thought the run continued to show signs. A lot of those coming off excellent work from Patrick Paul, and that's the only thing pretty much about Patrick Paul today. And the other thing was Jonah mentioned building chemistry with Patrick Paul, which means Jonah is working on the left side a lot, at least. So left guard for Jonah. Let's see. Jonah also talked about the contract delay. He said, he's glad it's behind him. And wasn't really a Jonah issue. That was a league-wide issue because all the second-round picks pretty much hadn't signed. Apparently, Jonah and Tua hang out. They hang out and have jam sessions. Tua on guitar, Jonah on piano. Pretty cool. Yeah. Let's see. Writer, there was you saying Chop was not good versus run. They said it like he could never develop into. Yeah. That was kind of the point. Outside, Jackson better be healthy. Yeah, Jackson health is super important. Patrick Paul needs to work on some things, but I'm actually not too concerned with Paul. If Paul's your weak link on the O-line, I think your O-line will be fine. Especially in this scheme. I think if we were in a different scheme, I would have more concerns with Paul, but I think the scheme will hide a lot of his deficiencies. Right, are they really going to use Cater outside? I think he's much better in the slide division with the outside and using more 3 safety looks. I'm sure he'll play outside. I think it'll be a mix, Josh. Just depends on the game. Like, 3 safety sets, he'll be on the outside. I think if you have 3 corners out there and the two other corners out there are more built for outside, then Kohu will go in the slot. Kohu did play better on the boundary last year than his second year. I think the second year, why people kind of had a bad, started building like a negative connotation towards Kohu, because in the Fangio scheme, they put him on an island a lot on the outside, and that's where he started struggling, and people started thinking he was bad. But he played much better on the outside this past season. I also do agree he is a slot guy. Like, he is better in the slot. But just based on the corner room, he's going to have to play more on the outside. And yes, in 3 safety looks, he'll have to play outside. And I think the Dolphins will run more 3 safety looks. Chubb dominated Paul yesterday. Wingfield didn't report it, but others did. That's why I take a lot of what Wingfield says with some salt. He tends to gloss over negatives. Yeah, I agree. But also, he talked about Chubb dominating, I believe. But also, like, it's hard to take what the other people say seriously because I don't think they actually know what they're talking about, Some of them do. Don't get me wrong. Some of them do. But some of them, I don't think they know if the player's getting dominated or not. So that's why. And I also do agree. Yeah, sometimes Wingfield does do a lot of positive stuff. That's why I just take all of it with a grain of salt. Oops, just deleted that accidentally. Rookie left guard, so you set up for success. Damn, Miller. Miller, everything you said, so negative today. I don't mind having the young guys next to each other. Let them build the chem. I do think having a vet and rookie next to each other, I get the idea, but I think it's an overrated concept. I think as long as I think just health is the big key for the O line. Offensive line can stay healthy. Having the same 5 guys next to each other is so key. I do agree that the scheme has deficiencies, but the primary concern with the scheme is that it's not good enough to circumvent the talent issues on the line when playing good teams. I think the problem just runs deeper than that. I think it's just it's very complex, and I don't think it's just the O-line isn't good enough. I think if you look at all the times we played really good teams, the O-line is pretty much fallen apart injury-wise. And I think the scheme can be good enough. We've seen it. Like I feel like people complain about the same scheme, but like we run the exact same scheme as the Niners, and we've seen the Niners go to the Super Bowl with that exact scheme. It's not like it can't work. Did I miss any Waddle news? Yeah, Waddle made apparently Tua and Waddle connected again for many deep chunk plays. And this clip was from yesterday. If you didn't see it, this one, Tua to Waddle, nice little play near the sideline. Waddle makes a catch. McDaniel excited. Apparently, Tua and Waddle and Tyreek had multiple big chunk plays today. I'm sure we'll probably see some of it. Out of all the corners who should be playing outside, who should be playing the slot? I mean, to be honest, most of the Dolphins corners, let me look at the depth chart. I would say most of them are outside guys. Like Storm Duck, outside. Ethan Bonner, I could see Bonner playing some slot, but he's mostly an outside guy. Cam Smith actually has experience playing in the slot, but he's mostly an outside guy. I could see Jason Marshall Jr. doing both. I could see that fit. Kendall Sheffield has experience doing both. Isaiah Johnson outside. BJ Adams outside. Ethan Robinson, I think, can do both. And then Kohu, obviously more of a slot, but will play outside. I mean, in the nickel listed on our LUDs, they have Kendall Sheffield after Kohu, Ryan Cooper Jr., Cornell Armstrong. But I think most of the guys that are like have a chance to actually see playing time are outside guys after Kohu. Still no interceptions? Yeah, no, I don't think so. The only thing I saw reported is that there was a dropped interception against, I think, Zach. Willie Gay dropped an interception. Yeah, I'm excited to watch Wright this year as well. Yeah. Yeah, but no scheme's bulletproof. In my opinion, McDaniel needs to dumb down the offensive motion, allowing for 2 audibles. I mean, I just think, yeah, I mean, we just need to quick things up. Like, I don't think they should get rid of, like, motioning. Like, the Dolphins still need to be using a lot of shifts and motions. I think if you go too static, then things get boring. But yeah, I do think allowing us to go a little more, like, at times, like, you know, like when we go 2-minute drill, no huddle, and then we're allowed to, like, make changes at the line of scrimmage. I think that would, but it's just not something that's been a part of the Shanahan scheme. If you go look at Shanahan's offense, he very rarely does that. But I would like to see a little more control at the line if it was allowed. It's just, that's how the scheme works. Nice, I still got Isaiah Johnson for the first one. Oh yeah. I saw, yeah, someone said Minka. What did I say? I said Ashton Davis, right? Still hasn't happened. The only game in the last season we had it was the 2023 Denver game where we put up 70. Yeah, Flem. Apparently, Nick Westbrook-Akine had a big day today, reportedly. He had a couple of big catches. I think Malik's been making plays for the most part as well. I think D. Eskridge had a big play today. Apparently, Theo Weiss had a nice play today. Who is our starting tight end? I think when you look at the tight end room, you shouldn't really look at who the starter is, because they're all going to play very even amounts of snaps. Like, you can say Darren Waller's the starter, but he's not even really playing tight end. He's going to play mostly big slot receiver. And like Julian Hill and Pharaoh Brown will probably see similar amounts of playing time on the field, whether who is the starter or not. So for me, I'm not really concerned about who the starting tight end is because I think all of them will play very similar amounts of snaps and play different roles. Storm, Cam, and Cater are your starters? Yeah, but I don't think Cam will last. I do think Storm and Cater will start, though. I would prefer to see Ethan Bonner out there. And I still think they'll probably end up signing someone. I think they're trying to see what they got on the young guys. And I don't mind it. I would just play the young guys if it was up to me. Yeah. Any final questions? Because I think that was pretty much everything to go over for today. I think tomorrow's practice is open to the fans, so we should have more information to look over. Probably more videos. If you're attending, hey, sneak some videos. Let's see. Trying to see what people are saying. Anything else get posted? No. Question about Coach Barry. What'd you say? You talked about Barry. Do you think he's near or control of the alliance to share with McDaniel? Oh, I'm sure like it's mostly Barry doing like the individual coaching, but I'm sure like, McDaniel has like the last say over stuff and he like overlooks everything. But I would say like Barry's doing probably a lot of like the individual focus stuff with these guys. I got one. How about the safety rookies? Well, apparently Trader was not seen at practice today, which has me worried. I hope he's good. And then apparently the UDFA rookie actually made some plays today, Saunders. We have two guys that are coming out of retirement. Why haven't we called Xavier Howard yet? Because we should not bring Xavier Howard back. See a 1 of 1 or any rookies to watch? Hines Ward type. I'd have to watch more of the 2026 class. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Actually, let me look at that. Let me look at this. Because I have names written down. Let me think if any of them were. Because I've watched only some of the 2026 class. I don't know. Maybe the Clemson receiver has a little bit of that game, but he's not hiding toward either. Do you think Saunders can get into the 53? I think it's going to be tough. I think for him to get to the 53, because at Ole Miss, he played a lot of nickel. I think if the team sees him as someone, like if he is at nickel, I could see him sneaking on the team that way. But like at the safety room, like usually teams only keep 4 safeties. I think the Dolphins could keep 5 this year. But then you look at it, it's like they got Minka. They got like, probably for him to make the team, there would probably have to be some injuries, which there is. Trader didn't practice today. Melifon was on, the NFI list. But if all of them are back, which it doesn't seem like they have any major injuries, then you got 6 bodies in front of him with Patrick McMorris, Trader, Elijah Gamble, Ashton Davis, Minka, Melifonwu, so it'll be tough. New unis are for real? Yeah, they're coming. I think it was August 28th. Oh yeah, right. I got told us to hit the like button. I'd be forgetting. Yeah, hit the like. Do all the the stuff that helps out with the algorithms. You gave up on Cam Smith? I mean, I would say it's not one I'm expecting much from. But I would like to be pleasantly surprised. I think he's been very unlucky as well. I do still think he's talented, but I don't know what the mental is looking like for him, and I think he's been very unlucky when it comes to injuries. So this is his chance, though. Like I think this is his last chance, but he does have a chance. Like that room is wide open if he takes advantage of the situation. I just think I have more confidence in some of the other younger guys. How many tweets are you getting about Wilkins back to Miami scenario? Oh, I've seen a lot of them. Personally, I'm probably one of the guys that's like, I don't really think it should happen unless it was like surprisingly cheap, which I doubt it will be. You think Waddle should take over as 1A this season? Should, yes. Will, I don't know. Probably not. Either way, like as long as Waddle gets his due, I'll be happy. Yeah, and Xavier Howard's a weirdo, bro. Like, it's time to move on from that. Yeah, I think Irving. They were saying he wasn't. I think it's people. I think people don't watch a lot of film, and I think they look at the numbers, and his numbers were down. And I don't think he was playing at the same level like when he was like an All Pro. But it's clear he's still quite good. And I think they also blamed a lot of miscommunication on him. When I think sometimes it was on him, but I think that was just an entire Steelers secondary problem. And yeah, I do believe, yeah, what you said about Weaver's system, Nicholas. Yeah, I think Minka, and I think McDaniel talked about it yesterday, like him being a great fit, and I do agree. The fit makes a lot of sense with Weaver. Any hot takes going into this weekend? Any cuts you anticipate? Any cuts right now? No. But I'll wait for my hot takes until we get to the preseason, because that's when we can like really see some action. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Peace. I'd kill to have X here. Damn. Hating on a lot of these other players, but want X here? That's kind of crazy.